Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are highly welcome to today's program. Global African Diaspora Lecture Series, Kwabena Nketia Center for Africana Studies, African University of Communications and Business. Distinguished guests, scholars, students, and members of our global community. It is with great honor and enthusiasm that I welcome you to the Global African Diaspora Lecture Series at the Kwabena Nketia Center for Africana Studies, housed within the African University of Communications and Business. This series is a platform for critical dialogue, intellectual exchange, a cultural reconnection, bringing together voices from across the African continent and its vast diaspora. Today, we gather in the spirit of Pan-African thought and engagement, inspired by rich legacies of African and diasporic scholars, artists, and activists who have shaped the global discourse on identity, resilience, and progress. As we explore the complex and dynamic experience of the African diaspora, may this space foster deeper understanding, collaboration, and transformative ideas that contribute to advancement of our shared heritage. Once again, I extend a warm welcome to our participants. May this lecture series ignite meaningful conversations and inspire new pathways for collective actions. Thank you.
So welcome everyone. Thank you for your patience in our delayed start. I hope you are fine. My name is Professor Mankutam. Many people also know me as Tracy Keith Fleming. I am the acting director of the Kwabena Nketia Center for Africana Studies here at the African University of Communications and Business. I'll begin my remarks by mentioning the fact that since the creation of the world's first educational institutions in Africa, three key elements of the mission of Black Studies has been central. These are cultural grounding, academic excellence, and social responsibility. They have been significant factors that many educators place an emphasis on as a part of teaching and advising students. And these factors remain central dimensions of the leading Africana Studies programs in the 21st century. The Kwabena Nketia Center for Africana Studies seeks to become the center of intellectual and social life at the African University of Communications and Business for all things related to the Africa-centered study of Africa and the African world community. The Nketia Center is positioned to accomplish this lofty goal by virtue of being located in the heart of the city of Accra. Africana Studies programming that reflects our global approach to Africana Studies, inclusive of continental Africa and the African diaspora, and continued collaboration with other areas and units is central to our commitment to creating a dynamic space of intellectual and social life related to Africa and the African world community. The aim of the Nketia Center at AUCB is to serve as the foundation of the university's commitment to ensuring that its overall mission is Africa-centered. The Nketia Center is an interdisciplinary institution dedicated to the study and advancement of knowledge about peoples of African descent, as well as people throughout the African world community, through scholarly research, teaching, and publications aimed at the regeneration of African peoples and societies. Programs at the Nketia Center are designed to, number one, create and deepen students' awareness of themselves as Africans. Number two, enable students to come to an understanding of Africa's role in the world from an African perspective. Number three, to give students knowledge of African philosophy, religions, and values that will instill confidence in them so that they can function as citizens and contribute their lot to society. Number 4, to introduce students to indigenous knowledge systems in Africa so that they can appreciate Africa's contribution to universal knowledge and to be inspired by it. And number 5, to understand the African diaspora as a foundational presence in the creation of civilizations in the Americas and elsewhere in the world. We welcome you to the Nketia Center and to the African University of Communications and Business. Thank you.
And again, you are welcome. My name is Boite Jonah. Today, our topic for discussion is entitled Misrepresentation of African Masculinity, or Misreading of African Sexuality, what African writers can do. And our speaker for today is Dr. Daniel Yao Fiaveh. Now, who is Dr. Daniel Yao Fiaveh and why him? Dr. Daniel Yao Fiaveh is a sex sociologist turned anthropologist with additional training, with a passion for sex and gender in cultural studies. He focuses on cultural representations of men and boys, sexual behaviors and response, intimacy, desires, eroticism, romance, sexual positioning, penile vaginal intercourse, oral sex, masturbation, dildo vaginal penetration, virtual or online sex, orgasm, sexual pleasure or satisfaction, erection and follows, alcohol and substance misuse and abuse, sexual health, that is condomless sex, hypersexuality, that is STIs, and queer lives. He also has an interest in theoretical and philosophical issues related to sex and research methodologies. Dr. Fiaveh sees very strong intersections of gender, sex, sexual cultures, and issues related to health and violence. He agrees with views that suggest that power is not a given, but a thing, out there to find. In that regard, his research and writings provide both empirical and conceptually and methodologically specific narratives to push for additional views from the fringe beyond what we know about globality. He is an academic editor at +1 and the editor of the Ghana Journal of Sociology and Anthropology, which is the flagship journal of the Ghana Sociological and Anthropological Association. He is a reviewer for some renowned journals in the humanities and social sciences, such as the Lancet Global Health. Furthermore, Dr. Fiaveh examines and reviews top African and European universities, such as South Africa's University of Cape Town, Russia's National Research University, High School of Economics, and Ghana's University of Ghana, that is UG, his alma mater. He is engaged in advocacy for non-binary and gender-variant lives in Ghana. He is also engaged in doctoral supervision with universities from the global north, including the University of Glasgow and Kew Leuven. A summary of research accolades comprises details of his achievements, research grants, consultancy, travel grants, and fellowship globally. Dr. Fiaveh is a CCNY Fellow, an ACLS, AHP Fellow, a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Scholar, and a double recipient of the World Social Science Forum Fellowship Award supported by the Human Science Research Council. He is also an alumnus of the Graduate Institute of International and Development Studies in Geneva, as a senior lecturer in Anthropology and Sociology at the University of Cape Coast. Dr. Fiaveh also a past coordinator for research at the Center for Gender, Research, Advocacy, and Documentation. From August 2022 to July 2024, he founded the Center for Men's Health and Sex Studies, a not-for-profit organization to promote and gain support for work on men in Ghana. Dr. Fiaveh also guest edited a special issue of Sociolinguistic Studies published in 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, with all great honor and with all his achievements, I'll urge each and every one of you to utilize use of his presence here. Without wasting much time, shall we all invite or welcome our speaker, Dr. Daniel Fiaveh.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for such a very generous and lengthy introduction. I appreciate that. Okay, so my name is Daniel Fiaveh. I currently work with the University of Cape Coast. So I teach both undergrad and graduate students. As you know, University of Cape Coast is a bit large. So today, I'm here by the instance of my very good brother, Professor Tracy Fleming, also now known as Makutam. We've gone a long way. We've met severally. I think first met in Chicago or something like that. That's where we first met and had our own time together. And then since we've been meeting, and he's come for my lectures, came in and sat in like this. So we are very good friends. We've done good things together and very, very, very bad things together. So we are good friends. So today I am very privileged to be here with you, to share with you a very important issue. I'll break it down to your level so you will see that my presentation is not so about citation. I don't know whether you understand citation. They are graduate students, so they will. But I mean quoting. I'm trying to just make it like a conversation, but of course, very much academic. Okay? So, I'm grateful if we. So, the topic is about misrepresentation of African masculinity. I will explain the concepts. It's very important you pay attention and you learn some few things, because I mean I appreciate that right now Ghana is hot. Ghana is, everyone is busy trying to get money. That's all. Everyone is just playing a smart one. Even when I was coming, I didn't drive because the road now is bad. So I sat in Ford structure, the usual bar. And this guy, I got to circle. There's a lot of space in the vehicle. But this guy just wanted to come and sit where I was sitting. Because I was holding my backpack and the usual circle, like, he doesn't know that I'm an Accra Nima boy. So he wants to come and steal me. Can you imagine? And then the guy came, sitting in a lot of spaces. And he just wants to squeeze me and to get my phone. And I told him, guy, hey, you see me like this, doctor, whatever, forget it. You understand? Meaning, for purposes of interpretation, everyone is hot. Everyone. So I appreciate that. But you cannot develop or progress in life if you don't know who you are. And if you don't appreciate how you have been, people talk about you. So things like this, it may not be immediately bread and butter, as in cocoa and katia or gakenke or something, or banku coming. But it's about who you are. And if you don't know who you are, there is no way in life you can succeed or progress or develop if you don't know who you are. That's a fact. I know for us, everything should be tied to food, money, and things like that. So you have to take these things very seriously. One day, you mark today down. You will never regret it that you were here at this point. It's important. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a woman? It's important. And how do we as Africans understand what it means to be a man, a woman, a boy, a girl? And how have others seen us? In other words, others have misunderstood us. Because the people who came to write about us were not us. Because at the time, we were not so concerned about the global world. We were concerned about ourselves, hunting, gathering, and so forth. But now, as we have heard, the world is now a global village. Whatever you do in your small village in Jelukope or some, Zabzugu Tatali somewhere, has implications for the global world. It has implications. If there is an outbreak of meningitis, or as we, for example, experience the Boku conflict, it has implications for those of us even in Accra here. Because then people will migrate, leave the war, and things like that, and come to the urban centers. Or you have a brother or sister who has been posted there as a nurse. What happens to their life and things like that? So the world is a global village now. So it's important. So when we say gender, what does it mean? Because I need to explain, because most of you, I know that there are experts also who have joined, but most of you are undergraduate students and things like that. So it's important to break down the concept. And these concepts, you meet them in life. So when we say gender, what does it mean? And how is gender different from sex? It's important to understand the differentiation between gender and sex. When we are born as human beings, we are born biologically, right? So, based on our genetic or chromosomes, DNA, and so forth. So, scientists will say you are XX or XY, right? Male, female, right? Your chromosomes, your granular, and your DNA, your system, your biological system. But what makes you human is not just your biology. You are taught by your family, by society. When you are born as a human being, if you are left like that, how many people have watched the movie Tarzan? Yeah. Human being, what makes us human is how we are cultured, we are socialized, how we are trained. If you leave little kids, they can even eat feces because they don't know. Because say tabula rasa, their brain is clean. They don't know anything. So we teach them. That is why the court will deal with you. If you rape a child and say that the child was smiling with you, the child says, "I love you." Children don't know anything. Yeah, a child cannot love anyone. A child is a child. You understand? So when you are dealing with children, it's completely different. So it is how we are brought up that makes us human. So it means that for human beings, to be a human is a blend of both biology and socialization. How you are socialized, how culture is transmitted to you, how you are taught the do's and don'ts of society. For example, society will say that, well, it's also use your right hand to eat, use your left hand to visit the loo. Not because of any specialty, but maybe because they feel maybe if you use both hands, there's a possibility of contamination. We have already known science before mainstream science. See, so they said, this is your brother, this is your sister. The two of you cannot have sex. The two of you have limitations. This is your father, this is your this is a daughter, this is mother, this is son. So society teaches. And some of these teaching, not that they tell you verbally, you learn them by observations. Nobody, no family member, a father will see that carry your sister or men deal with sister. No. You yourself, you will know. You understand? By observation. So, what makes us biological is the sex aspect. So, sex is more a biological construction. So, when you go to the hospital, the doctors are interested in your sex. They will ask. So, here they will ask male, female. Okay? But, as I said, the way you are brought up is your gender. So, when a child is born, you see that based on the child's biology, society will decide. The mother will decide, okay, we'll buy a dress, we'll buy a pink color, we'll buy this, we'll buy how do we call it? The doll. They will buy a doll for boy, they will buy a football and something like that. You understand? So that's how society gives you a gender. So a gender, you wear gender. Okay? But for sex, you are born with it. When you are born, you have a penis, you have a vagina, or your penis and vagina is not so clear, intersex, or something like that, right? But as you are born into society, society says that, oh, this is a boy, this is a girl. What do boys do? Boys should, maybe, depending on your family or your culture, boys wash plates. What do girls do? Girls sweep, right? What do girls should wash? Girls should fetch water. What boys should do what? Boys should carry heavy substances. So you see, when you go to another family or culture, it is different. So for example, in some cultures, girls also farm. They till the ground. In northern Ghana, you find women farming. Yes. Women engage in yam plantation and so forth. So in those cultures, there may not be sharp difference between the kind of work men do and the kind of work women do. For example, in the city here, it will be strange to see a girl riding motorbicycle. But it is never strange if you find yourself in parts of the northern territories, Wale Wale or anywhere, girls, women are riding motorbike even more aggressively than men. So what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that you see that with biology, it appears that it is fixed a bit because you are born with your genitalia, a homo. But with gender, how you are socialized, it appears that it's flexible. It means that depending on where I find myself, I may be doing things that is limited in that society as being a man or a woman. You understand? Yes. So it means that it depends. So in one culture, to be a man means you must be rich, you must be very strong, strong in bed, like those songs. She loves me, and I am a strong man, a strong black man. You understand? So for those society, but in another society, that is not what makes you a man at all. It has absolutely nothing to do with. The Ashantis have a expression. They said, "Se wokoti wa enkyerɛ sɛ wonim twedi." Yeah? So it means that the fact that you have a long penis doesn't mean that you know how to sex a woman. Yes, or even a man. It makes a lot of sense, isn't it? So it also makes sense if you say the early birds don't always catch the worm, because the early birds can be lazy and the late birds can come and catch the worm. So I'm just trying to challenge you to think that anything that is social can be changed. So those proverbs that two heads are better than one, you can have two heads who are fools, can't you? Yes, two people in a relationship and they are always at each other's throat. Somebody is single, ankunam, and life is so sweet and everything. And this idea about if you are sick, who will take care of you? Maybe the person has money. You can employ a nanny, you can employ a nurse. With money, you can do anything. You understand? So basically, back to gender, what I am saying is that it means that anything that society prescribes or ascribes to us, it can be changed. It can be changed. So if society says, once upon a time, Very soon you will see. Once upon a time, to be beautiful may be to wear baggy things or have plenty hairstyle and things like that. Today, it looks like things have changed. Yeah. Some time ago, maybe to be a rich man means you must have a pot belly, but that's nothing. To be rich today has nothing to do with that. You understand? It has absolutely nothing to do with your height, your whatever, okay, and so forth. So what I am saying is that gender can be changed. And so this lecture seeks to challenge how society over the years, because how we have been represented, you know, as men and women. Because it has implications for everything, for policy. Have you ever heard the policy in Ghana called LEAP? LEAP, L-E-A-P, Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty. You must be a Ghanaian, you must know these things. Even if you're not a Ghanaian, you're a Nigerian, you must still know these things because we are Africans. Livelihood Empowerment. This is a program that the government of Ghana has established. What they do is that they identify poor households. What is a household? A household simply is a group of people who share the same sleeping and eating arrangements together. So maybe where if you live with your father and mother, but they don't take care of you, you take care of yourself, then you are not part of their household. So a household, a group of people who share the same sleeping and eating arrangements together. So when they look at poor people, like people who earn below the minimum wage or a certain poor level, and they give them every month some money, it's nothing to write home about. If you are one household, they give you, I think, about 55 cedis. Yes. For a month. You have no idea. And if you are two, they give you 64 or something cedis. You know, if you are three, I think they give you about 70 something. And if you are 4 and above, you get about 100 cedis for a month. You know, the idea of this policy was born from the Ministry of Gender, Women and Social Protection. The idea that women are more disadvantaged than men. So what I'm trying to tell you is that anytime we start discussing an issue, it has implications for opportunities for us. And so it's important for us to understand when we say gender, when we say masculinity, what does it mean? So in Africa, how do we do our gender? Okay? So we can proceed. So basically, that's what I have done in the first this thing. I've tried to explain what it means to say gender and sex. So sex is a biological construction. Gender is a social construction. Society gives us a gender based on our biology. So if you are born and you are a boy, society will expect you to behave in a certain way. Okay? If you are born and you are a girl, society will expect you to behave in a certain way. Wear a certain dress. You know, if you're a boy, you are not expected to wear dresses. Boys are supposed to wear shirts, knicker, and things. But we know that, you see now, people are challenging this. So girls wear shirts. Yeah, we see girls, women wear shirts and trousers. Why? Because depending on what you are doing, maybe your work demands that you should wear. So are we going to be strict and difficult and say that people cannot? You see, because if I work as the manager or in a bank where it is demanded that I must wear some tight piccolos, you know, talewoto, you know, to show, you know, and wear the tight stuff, you know, and the shirts and the suit and things like that. You can't say that. You can't be, and that's why I love Professor Fleming's idea about religion. Sorry, the idea about religion, because still we have conservative people in some churches. People still have problems when women wear trousers. You understand? Because of still these conservative ideologies about sex and gender. Okay? And so I'm saying that there is the need, urgency. There is a certain form of, when you say something is urgent, it has become necessary for us to discuss these things. These things are very sensitive in our society. But I'm saying that given the opportunities and the restrictions that gender and sex place on us, because you're a girl, you can't do certain things. Because you're a boy, you can't do certain things. These things don't bring out our fullest potentials. You understand? Today, women are engaged in military. There are women who are lifting machine gun. Machine gun is no more heavy. So when we say somebody is strong, it is not the same as being a commando or a Chuck Norris or Rambo. Right? Today, weapons are very light. Weapons, somebody is flying Falcon, something. It's just ping, bang, 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 and then he releases the missiles. What has that got to do with being a macho? It has nothing to do. You see, so today you see women in the military, you see men in nursing, right? So gender can be problematic because then people will laugh at you. Why a man being a nurse? Why can a man be taking care of the sick? You know? But we know that the best chefs sometimes are men, right? Yes. The best chefs. So why do we want to restrict ourselves? And that's what I'm trying to, make us, challenge our ideologies. So why can't a man cook for a woman? Right? And so we want to know whether this has been the situation, whether African men have been cooking for their partners. What does it mean? How have people misunderstood us? And I'm saying that when we learn all these things, it will help us. It will help us promote, ourselves, men, and even women. It helps us know who we are, our identity, and so forth, and so forth. So such a lecture is so critical and crucial, so that you sitting there, in fact, you will be shocked. Some of your colleagues, you will see them in 5-6 years' time. A lot will travel out, pursue further studies, or go into business. Yeah? And you will remember today. Because when you are in the cold out there as a woman, there's no such thing as I'm sitting home for my husband to go and work and bring me money. At that point, there is no male, female. And if you're a man out there, there's no such thing as I have to be spending all my hard-earned money on someone called a woman. Yes. When we all go out there, you can ask him, when we all go out to the pub or something, you pay, I pay. Yes. And if you are paying for me, it's because you have been gracious enough to want to just do it. It is not a forced or a responsibility that I am forced to do. Okay? So we can progress. And so I expect that at the end of this lecture, at least you will leave here, start challenging yourselves. So, hey, is this how people have thought about us? Is this how people have written about us? So who am I? You should be asking yourself that question. Who am I? Whom am I? Have you heard that expression before? Whom am I? Yeah? So I'm basically trying to challenge you to critique how, we have been studied as Africans. We haven't been presented nicely at all, especially how African men, even if you watch movies, you will see where we discuss. You see, if you watch the Korean series, if you watch all those series, they are shown as loving, romantic. So now you hear some Ghanaian women say, Ghanaian men are not romantic. They are not romantic. Me, I want to date a white. Yes. Because of how the Hollywood movie has presented African men in black communities. They must be the ones beating their wives and killing their children. And the white man will always come with flowers, roses, and then with some wine, baby, baby. So you people all have now, young women in Africa have developed prototype standard of what it means to be an African man. What kind of man will you date? I mean, a man who will take care of me. You won't go and work. You are there. You won't go and look for work. You want someone to come and take is he your father? Is the person your father? So I also want to introduce a very, very important term to you that a lot of you have misunderstood or have never heard before. That word is called feminism. How many people have heard feminism before? Okay, feminism. But usually, you see, when we mention feminism, femininity, you are thinking about women, isn't it? Well, I want to change your perception about that. I want to show you how learning feminism is important for even men. How feminism can be empowering for men. And the need for men to embrace feminism. And I also want to propose alternative knowledge systems, as Makuta mentioned. Indigenous knowledge systems. How that can be useful. Like the Anansi story that unfortunately is no more on our television, for example. Other African society, every African society has some form of, folk tales. Folk tales used to be very predominant on our TV, but now Kunkumbagias have taken over. The Indians and the hair industry, all these things are supposed to promote a certain development, global development. Oh, I like the long hair. Look at the hair. I like that. Yeah. Do you know that a lot of African men have started bleaching or have been bleaching? Yes. It's sad. Because of what they see, right? Well, because of what they see and the preferences of African women. Because the media is a very powerful tool. Okay, so I want to challenge us. I want to propose indigenous ways. So at the end of this lecture, you should. I expect that you should, start challenging yourself. So even if I want to do a business, how do I put an African touch to it, that to sell? Because that's what will give you the money. Because anything you want to do which is Western, you cannot do it better than any Westerner. It's simply not possible. Yes, you cannot do medicine better than any top German or American or Canadian hospital. But you can do African traditional herbal medicine better and heal better. You see? So that's what I'm seeking to, propose at the end of this lecture. Yes. So the question that I'm asking is, what does it mean to be a man in Africa? Have you asked yourself, what does it mean to be a man? Must you have a long penis? Must you? So what if you have a short penis, but you are able to take care of your mother, your father, your children? Does that make you a man? What if you are very, very short? Does that make you a man? Akufo-Addo is short, but he became president of Ghana. Yes, he became president of Ghana. Yes, of the armed forces. Can you imagine? In the armed forces. Yes. Yeah, armed forces. They have a certain height. Yet, president or the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So what does it mean to be a man? Ask yourself that question. And one very important word that we normally hear, patriarchy. I will explain that word. What does it mean? And how is patriarchy useful to men? Is it harmful to men? So the term patriarchy simply means that kind of ideology, philosophy, belief system where men are seen as superior than women. But it doesn't end there. It's also men superior over other men, weak men, men who are poor, men who have nothing. You know, so the patriarchy, that idea about privileging men positions is not just over women, but it's also over other men, fellow men, and children. So how is that beneficial? So for example, let me make it practical. So if in my culture, patriarchal standard requires that I must not show signs of weakness or pain in any form. So, yes, Bermansu. So if you have watched that movie, Sparta, what's the title? Exactly. I think it's 1,000 something, oh? 3,000 or 300 Spartans. Yeah, it is. 300 Spartans. That is typical of patriarchy. 300 men wants to take up a whole Persian, you know. You see in movies, they show that, you know, as excessive kind of way of living, you know. So look at it. Rambo, Commando, one man who lift one gun, you know, and then kill everybody. Do you believe that? One man. Don't believe those bullshit. When you are watching such a movie, it's like one guy. Well, I don't know. I forgot his name. This American movie. I don't know. He normally ties his Steven Seagal. They never beat him. He's always beating everybody. Meanwhile, he's big and fat and everything. And he's always beating everybody. Right? Or setting, at least even for the Chinese, they show, because the Chinese are a bit closer to us, in their movie, they show where Blowman is beating very well. You know, maybe even Bruce Lee, sometimes he's beating and you see when he sees blood and he starts charging or something like that, right? Or even Tai Chi. What was the people who acted the Tai Chi? Oh, what? Jet Li, yeah. Jet Li and his brother, not real brother in life, but you know, at least the Chinese, so you see a certain perception. So the Chinese, at least, they come down on a form of masculinity. So that kind of masculinity, a man takes one boy here, you know, takes about 10 girls out. And then he's having a purse, pofu, then at the back of his, this thing, baby girls, what do you want? Take anything. Then the girls too, they have planned, you know, and things like that. Is typical of how patriarchy can be harmful, because you feel that as a boy, as a man, I must take responsibility. We are all sitting in Trotro. I've invited you, or we have all decided to go somewhere. We are sitting in Trotro. Unfortunately, because of the way we entered Trotro, I'm sitting at the back. You are in front. The mate starts asking for money. Why can't you just pay? That you, when the mate starts asking you for the money, then you tell the mate, how much is Trotro fare? How much is Trotro fare? How much? How can't you just open your purse, yeah, and open the purse, you give the mate, maybe it's 5 cedi, 2. Then you give the mate 10 cedi and say 2. You know, it brings down. So if you have realized, it is this patriarchy that is forcing a lot of young boys, for example, to take drugs because they can't satisfy girls. Yes, they can't satisfy. They have to take all manner of energy drinks, cough mixtures, right? You don't know, there are serious cough mixtures. The prices of those cough mixtures, they are underground. They are all aphrodisiacs. Look at television. Television. When they do adverts, Tina Ted before, Asamoah Gyan, Majeme 3 point, Kekbu Minimagbo, what mention them, Ubumpa, hey, all those are targeting men. Have you ever, Mr. What? Mr. Q, Mr. Drew. They have Mr. Drew. No, yes, but Asamoah Gyan is a footballer. There are aphrodisiacs called Asamoah Gyan, if you don't know. Yes, and I don't want to talk about the Viagra. You know, Viagra. Not Viagra, Viagra. And the mixtures of K20 and Oh my God, all this to what end? It's masculine. I want to show her. I want to show her, and the concept Medino. You see, Medino, a certain form of power. Medino. Can a woman say Medino? A woman cannot stress. Contrary, you see, if a woman says, "Guy, Medino," you see, people will say, "Hey." You understand? All these are things we need to start challenging. Okay? So we want to look at all this and how, if you like, Western societies have misrepresented us. If you can proceed. So I begin the first issue, First issue I want to talk about is men and sexuality in Africa. Studies that have been done, the history of sexuality studies and men's studies. Most of these studies have been done by Western scholars. When I mean Western scholars, I mean Americans, Europeans, who have come, anthropologists. Have you heard the word anthropology before? Yes. All these scholars who study so-called miniature, small societies, cultures, you see them, the last time you see them, white dudes and some shorts, they come with some, weird heads and things like that. You see them and you laugh, they are laughing with you, they are studying you if you don't know. They are collecting data about you. These guys, I'm telling you, you see them in the market and then you call them Obroni, little children are calling them Jesus, Yesu. Anytime a small child calls any white guy Yesu, spank that child. Yes, because this is how you have been taught. You see, even me at this age, I must make an intentional effort to resist that. Because anytime you are, just imagine, take yourself, that you are praying, you close your eyes, you want to pray, and then you see a black man, in your this thing coming, my son, my daughter, you will say, God forbid. That's the point, because a certain picture has been painted. It's not only you, even me at this age. So I have to resist that. Because we watch what we call Jesus movies, right? They show these movies and it's some white dude or some, long hair, Mel Gibson, all these writers. Yeah? If you should, and then you hear the key translation and the way they translate it, it's not funny. The Jehovah's Witness, But if they say you should go to maybe Mozambique Cristo, you will say you don't like it. In Gomwa, Mozambique Cristo is an indigenous church. Yes. You see, you make fun. Yeah, you don't like your indigenous Christianity. No. But Christianity, history has shown that even Africans were engaged in even such, Timbuktu, there are stories about Islam and how Africans have been engaged in such, belief systems before the white man came. But, because, people want to claim. So, and you must know this, okay? So, the way we have been studied, all the Bible you are reading, right? Look at the Bible carefully. How many even spaces where Africa is supposed to be mentioned, it is a bit twisted, and things like that. But because you don't want to challenge it, else you'll be blasphemous, thou shalt not blaspheme, and things like that. So we, Africans, it appears that we are not doing anything. And yet, if you go into the proper history, everything is showing how even discoveries, inventions, Africans were at the center of all these things. What am I saying? I'm saying that the history about us in this university, you are so fortunate. You know why? Because this university appears to be built upon a certain Pan-African belief system. So I'm sure you will be hearing books and the ideas of Nkrumah, Marcus Garvey. So fortunate. In some spaces, Because it's a capitalist, let me break it down, like profit-making kind of course, here there's some profit motive, but at least you have scholars who will challenge the system. You have scholars who challenge the system. Okay? So, to read even Nkrumah's ideas, how many of you know about Azikiwe? Have you heard the name before? Who is Azikiwe? Nnamdi Azikiwe. Who has heard the name? Who? Have you been taught? Or you are in what levels? What levels are you? All of you? Okay. So have you been interested have you heard Nnamdi Azikiwe before? What about Marcus Garvey? W.E. Du Bois? Do you know where Du Bois lived? Who can tell me? Oh, you need all this. Don't ask me, but what has where Du Bois lived got to do with the food that I will eat tomorrow? It has everything to do with it. I'm telling you. It has everything to do with it. Du Bois lived and died in Ghana. Yes. People have fought for you. Today, that's why I'm saying, today, women are sitting in the same class with men. It was not like that.
Sir, is that why we have Du Bois Center?
Yes. Yes. Maybe you should propose to your lecturer and you should pay some token, small token, then you go for an excursion at the Du Bois Center. It's important. See, you may think that one day, I'm sure that grown-ups, they know. Someday if you marry or your son or your daughter dies, you normally, or your father or whatever, you go to the graveyard to just some fond memory. I'm telling you. Yes. That's why history is important. Historians are very, very important in society. That's why history is important. History. Okay? If they ask you who is the first Prime Minister of Ghana, I'm sure that you know. It has implications. People fought for you. People fought for you. I'm telling you. Today, the freedom you have and you are sitting here, life goes beyond cake and fish. I'm telling you the truth. Life goes beyond cake and fish. It goes beyond your immediate pleasure. Life is about the future. So 10 years, 20 years time, what happens to me? Yes. Haven't you seen a lot of fraud boys, sack-our boys, they start giddy, and they end very terribly. Yes. So life, even though the beginning is important, the end is probably more important. You see, the beginning, if you're a child, everybody can help you. You can do wagadre, your parents can give you money, or you can do some and can get some. When you are in your old age, I'm telling you, even your children, they will also be focusing on their families. Old age is even more terrible than being a child. Yes. Old age, you can end up wearing pampers. Yes, because you have no control about even your bowels. It's a very serious matter. You will not sit here forever looking fresh, and young, and no, it's not possible. You will age. So think about that, okay? So basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that you need to know your history, where you are coming from. So try and take courses in history, short courses, history. History can teach you everything, can teach you even medical history. So once upon a time, Ghana has suffered from maybe, let's say, chicken pox. How did Ghana handle chicken pox? Yes. How did Ghana handle chicken pox? To the extent that today, I don't think chicken pox is extinct, isn't it? Is it still? It's still, yeah. But malaria, a generation will come, they will not have malaria. Maybe there will be a vaccine and things like that. So how did we do it? Because when you learn from this, it has implications for the future. Coronavirus has always been with that. People, but look at it, because we don't learn from the past, we were just fortunate that it just didn't kill us like fowls. I don't know what happened. I cannot explain it scientifically, but maybe not everything can be explained by science. But we were just fortunate. Just imagine how we are at the trotro station. I'm sure a lot of us have gotten coronavirus and survived it, including myself. I'm telling you, we are just fortunate. Maybe the environment, the tropics, everything favors us. We are just a certain fortunate human being. But we cannot continue to be fortunate forever. You know, one day you'll be beaten by the serpent. Okay? And so the way we have been, African writers, so people like Amateidu, have you heard the name before? Yeah. People have deliberately, and it must be deliberate, rewrite the literature. When you say literature, literature simply means what have been written, what other people have done. It's called literature. Okay? So what other people have done, how do we rewrite it? We can only do that by first knowing what has been written about us. How African men and women have been presented. I've just shown you that we have been presented, African men have been presented by hypersexual, that all we know is sex. That's how we have been presented. Look at movies. You look at movies, Nigerian movies. How men have been, so, you know, a certain body type and things like that. So, what is the implication? The implication is that medicine is manufactured to target us. Yes. Medicine is look at our market. Our market is flooded with aphrodisiacs. Are you not concerned? A lot of young boys already are having EVD, erectile dysfunction problems. Yes. There is a center called Priapism Center. I'm sure if you go to Kolebu, where you see a lot of men, their penis is on. It can't come down. It cannot come down. Because he has gone to take concussions. And when the young woman came, the young woman was giving excuses. Or the young woman didn't come, turn off the phone. Or maybe it's not a woman, but, you know, the implications of that, even for women also, there are stereotypes. You know, the African woman is all about you must be pregnant, have a child. But culturally, our society has spaces for people who didn't have children. There were a lot of people who didn't have children of their own, but they fathered and mothered other people's children. And we accepted them. Even though children were valued, children were seen as a gift from God. So nobody was blamed, even if you didn't have a child. And that was the reason why, for example, men were allowed to marry more than one, polygamy. You see, but because you didn't understand, a lot of people didn't understand even what it means to say to marry more than one. Sometimes the marrying more than one was to even support a woman who has been widowed. Okay? Because they didn't want the woman, because, you know, at that point you are vulnerable. Because if you lose a loved one, you see, so normally the brother of the deceased man took you on as an additional wife. And there was a rationale for it. For example, the essence was that because you are vulnerable, another man can easily woo you, and the property of your former husband can be stolen. And so the idea is that they want the property in safekeep for your children and the family and things like that. That was the essence. In fact, among the Gandangbe, it was a very common practice and things like that. Not only the Gandangbe, a lot of ethnic groups, you know, across Ghana. And so look at the way men, so men have been seen as polygamous. The concept polygamous, you know, and the negativity that is associated with it. You know, that the fact that you are married more than one, it means that you are suppressing, you know, a woman. But that wasn't the case. These are the history that they have written about us. And I'm calling on you to challenge some of this thinking. Think about it. Why would, even today, why would any human being wants to marry more than one? In this difficult economic situation. Yeah? So sometimes people were forced. And you know our concept of brotherliness. Sometimes your brother dies and the child of your brother is left behind. So you have the responsibility to take care of that child. That was the concept amongst Akans, Wafa. So my uncle. So your uncle is like your father. So if your father dies during funeral, if you're a woman, you will hear your family members telling you, oh, Mensu, don't cry. We are here for you. Yeah? We know that sometimes people lie, but at least in the beginning, yeah, people are there for you. You know, it is when it becomes maybe too much, you are not doing anything every time, you want this, you want that, and they also have other commitment, because people also have other commitment. They have children that they have to take care of, especially if their children too are not pulling their weight at school, you know, and they are struggling and things like that. So we can move on. Another thing I want to also touch, so I'm talking about formative, so this is the second, I'll finish soon, okay? So another thing I want to talk about is how we have to change our mindset and the theories. So I expect that in the university like the level 200, I don't know, but maybe level 400, 300, master's student, the graduate student, you will be introduced to concepts such as African social thought. You will learn about the works of Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Yeah, have you heard Ngugi wa Thiong'o? Oh. We need to do a lot of work. We need to. Ayukweyama, who has heard Ayukweyama? The beautiful ones are not yet born. Do you really understand that expression? The beautiful ones are not yet born. See, you don't know. You have to be taught. He wasn't talking. Let me explain that. This is the misconception. When Ayukweyama wrote the book and says the beautiful ones are not yet born, he was not talking about beauty as in the beautiful ones are not yet born. No, he was talking about corruption. Yes. So he was, listen to carefully, he was talking about, for Ayukweyama, the beauty is the people who are faithful to the state. You are beautiful. Beautiful we start. So he's saying that the uncorruptible people are not yet born. You understand? The people, all of us here, virtually students, politics, you are even corrupt. Student politics, and you see the kind of posters people are doing. Where did they get the money from? Maybe here is a bit better, but on public universities, I'm telling you, political parties have taken over. Students are associated with political parties, and they are the ones who sponsor them. Why? Because when they sponsor them and you become an SRC president, the idea is that you will not lead maybe demonstration and things that will make the government unpopular or things like that. See? So students, while in school, they are already engaged in thievery, Julo. I'm telling you, they are already stealing students' money. Yes. You will hear students, they were not aware they were being recorded, telling each other, by the time I finish serving as an executive in this university, I should be able to buy Corolla S. I said, wow, your professors are riding motor, and you are thinking about, hey, and indeed, yes, they are interested in having cubicles. They are there alone, so that the girls, yeah, because you are there alone. You are TV, red carpet. Who doesn't like come for red carpet and illegal connection for, illegal connection for air conditioning? You see someone in a wooden room and have air conditioning. They are all illegal. Illegal connection. You see, we are not faithful to the state. So Ayukweyama says the beautiful ones are not yet born. Okay? And I'm saying that another theory we can use is feminism. Let me explain it briefly. What is feminism? Feminism started during human rights. The black rights, the rights, for black people, the rights for slaves, so-called slaves. You know, basically, the idea that there is power inequality in society. I'm explaining feminism. So that today you start asking yourself, am I a feminist? So listen carefully. Feminists are people who support feminism. So what is feminism? Because once you know feminism, you can then know whether you are a feminist or you are a pro-feminist. A pro-feminist is someone who is not a feminist but supports feminist principles, some of their principles. So listen carefully. So feminism basically is an ideology, a philosophy, which argues that there is power inequality in society. What do I mean by power? Power means that somebody is more privileged than another person. So for example, a lecturer and a student, there is always power. The lecturer has power because the lecturer will grade you and decide your fate. But it doesn't mean the student has no power. For example, the lady also may have a power in terms of deciding to use her femininity. Yes. Students have power. Yes. Because depending on the culture you come from, if in a culture where vagina is valued, then people can use vagina as a bargaining tool. In a culture where anal sex is valued, people can use their masculinity as a bargaining tool. So what I am basically saying is that you can use your body, identity politics. Maybe you find yourself amongst Ghanaians. You are not a Ghanaian, you are a Nigerian. But you realize that if you disclose, if you don't associate with them, you will be discriminated against. They will start speaking in the Ghanaian language where you don't understand, and they will always suspect you when you are among them. So you can also play politics by, in their midst, be speaking against Nigerians and pretend that you are rather more on the side of Ghanaians than Nigerians. Ghanaians will accept you. Do you understand? They will think that you are on their side. And that's what people even do in politics. You find yourself among maybe NDC people, you are an MPP, but you want them, you don't want them, because all the people are suspicious of people. So you don't want people to be suspicious about you. So when they are talking, you can be criticizing MPP in the midst of NDC people. They will see you to be part of them. But you are not part of them. You are pretending to be part of them. Do you get what I'm saying? So I'm saying that feminism basically fighting for the rights of equality. It is not only about women. Feminism is saying that there is power inequality and that we must bring everybody at par. Particularly, they argue that the history is showing that women have been disempowered and that we should bring women at par. So it's actually helping men. Because, for example, if the idea is that women are not working, so we should give women opportunity. If you're a man and you have a daughter, it will help you. If you're a man and you have a wife, if you have a sister who is not working and your sister is depending on you for money, and feminists are actually fighting that women should be given opportunity, it is actually in the interest of men. Do you get me? Yes. Are you not happy that your grandmother will be empowered to get more opportunity to support you? Yes. So actually, going strictly, women's empowerment is actually good for men. But the idea is that the way it has been presented in the literature is problematic, because Africans have always empowered their women. That's what I want you to know. Men have always, even in a situation where a man is going to marry another woman, in so-called polygamy, the man sought the opinion of the first wife. There was no way a man would marry a second woman without seeking the opinion of the first wife. Do you know why? Because the first wife can make life miserable for the second wife. So you need to let the first wife be at peace to know. In most cases, they may tell you whether you like it or not. They will tell you that I'm going to bring another woman. Yes. So, and a lot of men promoted their daughters. But the impression has been created that, men didn't give. If you ask a lot of women, they will tell you that their fathers have been there for them. Of course, you will always have some men just like in every society, you always have people who don't understand the need to empower women. Right? African men have always empowered women. If you read the literature, a lot of the African writers have shown how African women have been very, very, very powerful. And who told you that when a man says, I'm married to 10 women, and the man says, I have 30 children, doesn't mean that all the 30 children are yours? You must be joking. You must be joking. So you have 10 wives while you are away, and the weather is cool and she is there. You think that the watchman who is there, who watches over the watchman? Yes. I am not in any way saying that. I'm only telling you that women are rational just like men are rational. So African women have always been empowered. Okay? And so the idea that is created that African men don't support their women. Go to the Arab regions. The idea about women covering their body part is not necessarily a subordination, but it's in the interest of women. People want to, if you like, avoid issues about rape. I am not in any way suggesting that what someone is wearing should guarantee you raping someone. The law will deal with it. You have no right. Yeah? But I'm saying that every culture and the way, the socialization is. For me, for example, wearing this hat is not necessarily for covering, but I want to avoid dust from entering my hair. Dust. Because the society is dusty. Simple. You see? So a woman has gone to do the hair, the place is dusty or something. And in the Gulf regions, it's not a very cold place. Those are dry deserts and things like that. So covering of hair, of course, it has its origin in a religious and moral tone. But I'm saying that it's even common sense. It's just like some of the training they give us that don't sweep in the night. The beneficial thing is that if you sweep in the night, you may sweep your valuable away. Common sense. Indeed, you may sweep your valuable away. Maybe your small earring may have fallen, or something has fallen, a gold nugget, something, and you may have swept it away. So if they say don't go to fishing on a certain day, the idea is to allow the fingerlets or fingerlings or pelagies, the pelagies to grow so that they become bigger, isn't it? Yes, and things like that. So you see, some of these cultural practices are not necessarily for purposes of subordinating women. They are for the societal cohesion to help all of us. But sometimes, of course, people abuse them. So if it is the abuse they are talking about, we are ready to talk about it. We should all talk about it. Nobody should abuse anyone. But for the smooth, running of society, okay? I mean, just imagine you walk naked, I mean, it can be interpreted as you are having a mental, challenge, and the police may have a right to arrest you, first of all, to see whether you are mentally stable. And by the time they get to know you are mentally stable, the shame and the disgrace that would have come to you. Let me give you a typical example. I used to sit at a place in Cape Coast. There is a bar. Normally, I like the local bar. But I stopped. Why? Not because it's a local bar. I go to more. When he comes to me, we go to the local bar. But that place, they smoke a lot of weed openly. I don't have any problem. I don't smoke. But I don't have any problem if you decide to smoke your weed. But my problem is, this is a public space, like open by the roadside. And the police they are always driving by. So you were smoking weed openly there. I said, go to the back and smoke your weed. He said, hey, I don't have problem. I will not. I don't have any problem. Right? Then you are insisting that, but you say you're a Pan-Africanist or whatever. Well, I said, no. If a police comes right now, the first word is the police swoop. Right? They will first of all arrest all of us. When they take us to the police station, before they do profiling. Right? They do profiling. By the time that it is known that, oh, me cried, I wasn't part. I was just sitting somewhere drinking my beer. Do you know the implication? The implication is that, you know, Ghana and smartphone and these days, how people just take some this thing, and then they start sharing. My university, I'm telling you, it has implications for me. Hey, Fiaveh, you are smoking weed openly with gangsters. I mean, if people are smoking weed, it's none of my business. It's just like people who have decided to have anal sex. It's none of my business. I will not do that. You understand? But it doesn't mean that I should have a capacity to be judging someone. Do you know what I do? Those of you who masturbate, is it part of this thing, the mainstream sex? If you are asking a woman or a man to give you fellatio or cunnilingus, is it part of the traditional? Is it part? Yes. Is it part? It's not, right? But humans innovate. Yeah, you should learn. Humans innovate. So I'm saying that embrace feminism. Why? Because feminists are fighting for equality. That not only for women, no. They are saying that I should be able to do things in society regardless of my gender. Because my gender should not restrict me. In other words, the dress I'm wearing, the sweeping I'm doing, should not prevent me from becoming a lecturer. I think it makes a lot of sense. Yes. It makes a lot of sense. And so, as we speak, Ghana has passed a law. Have you heard it? An act. It is called the Affirmative Action Act and Gender Equity. Have you heard it? Yes. Affirmative action means that in places where there is lower women's representation or lower men's representation. So, for example, if in nursing, if there are fewer men should also be given opportunity. So these things are positive, isn't it? But I'm telling you that we have culturally been doing this thing. I share my own experience. When I was growing up, and I'm sure a lot of you have experienced it. My grandfather, who I grew up, and I had only sisters. Anytime my grandfather comes, he wants to give money to the girls, not me. My grandfather would tell me that you're a man, get out. Get out. I struggle for my mind. These are women. Then he would say, do you menstruate? I said, no. He said, why do you want me to? Then he would say, I don't want them to go and be chasing other men. So I will give them. So it tells you that African society, we have always empowered our women. Yes, I'm telling you, a lot of you may have experienced that. Because culturally, we appreciate that biologically we are different. So you don't buy menstrual pad. Yeah. She buys menstrual pad. So your parents, when they are giving you money, they may give him a little bit. Maybe we will get to a point where your father too recognizes that. Well, she doesn't propose to a man. You propose to a woman. So you two, I'll give you a little bit more. so that maybe as a father I can do that. I can do that if I have a boy child. Say, look, yeah, I know you menstruate, you don't menstruate, you like women, you menstruate. Okay, you menstruate, get extra money for your menstrual pad and upkeep, and a time will come they will stop using menstrual pad. Hallelujah. Science will develop. I'm telling you. You just take a pill, science will develop. Look, we already have this science, indigenous science, herbs and things. I don't know it, but there are people who know it. Those who know herbal medicine and spirituality. There are herbs. Yeah, there are herbs that can do all these things. It's because the only problem with Pan-Africanism, African thought is that people don't share ideas. They die with them. And so you will see my recommendation. People die with them. The challenge of selfishness, the fear, they want to be an authority. It's just like the chief priest. The chief priest wants to have that unchecked power. Then he will go and say, oh, Oba no better my inferior. You see, that's what they are thinking about. So he is the only one who can hear the voice of the gods. That is where there is a problem. Because if we can get to the level where, okay, all of us, we want to hear the voice of the gods should speak, so that all of us, so the gods should be, maybe somebody will go and hide in the shrine and say, is that how the gods talk? Then still the chief priest will say, yes, I've been telling you people, that's how the gods talk. I am the only one who can interpret. So the most beautiful, but you think is the pastors are doing it. Are they not marrying the most beautiful women in the church? Yes. Are they not? They are. Because they can prophesy. They said that, sister, so right now, if you want to get a beautiful woman as a guy, just go and see the pastor and sort the pastor out. And the pastor in the church setting can just prophesy and say that there is a sister here. The Lord is telling me that Brother Joseph is your husband. Brother Joseph is your husband. Then the Brother Joseph will pretend and say that me, pastor. Then the ask for those fake ones. They will ask, have you met me before? I will say no. Have you told me something? I will say no. The day that they will ask a question like that, and they will yield their toe and say that, have you met me before? Yes. Have you met me before? Yes. Have you told me something before? Yes. I was the one who told you that I want. So they will not deal with success. So I'm saying that we should embrace feminism, because feminism is saying that, look, men and women should be equal. They should go about. It doesn't mean you cannot critique or have problems with the excesses of feminism, right? But feminism is good. You know, there are different types of feminism. Those who are radical and those who are liberal, okay? Those who are radical and those who are liberal, right? And so those who are liberal, they want change to happen slowly. But those who are radical, they want sudden change. Okay? You can read a bit more about feminism. Okay? So that's what I'm suggesting. We can move to the next. The last but one is that now the approach we used to study about us, we should change it a bit. Normally, the white people will come here, talk to some few people, and then on the basis of that, they say that this is who we are. This is how our sex life is. This is how the African woman is. This is how the African man is. I'm saying that now we should allow men to tell their own stories. Yeah, we should allow men to tell their own stories, you know. Why can't we be bold to engage in what I call voodoo methodology? All these okonfors. Today I was listening and they were explaining Akwesidae, you know, on air. They were explaining how the term menshia, how it came about. For example, that it was one of the divisional chiefs in some of the part of Ashanti that gave the land to Otufo, and Otufo thanked, I don't know whether Prempeh the first or who, not this one. The time he said, Menshiawa. In other words, if I hadn't met you, so Menshia, right? And so all these things, and it was being explained by some divisional chiefs. So we should adopt some of the indigenous methodology. So when the Okonfors are doing all those things, have we really, you know, thought about, you know, what those things mean and things like that? I'm saying that we should engage, you know, our indigenous methodologies, belief systems, the Anansi stories. You know, normally the Anansi stories are meant to promote a certain African culture and moral. I'm sure Kuku Anansi by the fireside. But all these things are gone. Eh? You know, we used to have people who tell them, right, celebrities. Mami Dokono, Grace Omabo told it. I think Fred, did he do it, or it was David Donto? He did it, or what? Or it? Yeah, Mami Dokuna David Donto. Yes. You know, all this indigenous methodology. If you go elsewhere, you know, for example, in Senegal, even in Ghana here, people sit around table drinking what we call attire. During those periods, a lot of conversations happens amongst men, doesn't it? A lot of conversations. So I have, in Senegal, in Dakar, I have sat amongst guys because the attires are different, right? The Chinese are copying us. They are now selling it expensive. The attire, you see the thing that those of you don't know, I'm describing, they boil is like tea. You see the Muslim guys gather together, they, you know, normally after prayers or before prayer, and they talk a lot. Why can't we do some ethnographic work? Ethnography simply means the study. You know, ethnography is both a methodology and philosophy. Studying about us, you know, the things that the white people come, they go to our shrine. They even stole our voodoos. In other words, our gods. They stole them. Benin, there are a lot of cases. In fact, I think Britain has returned a lot of things to Nigeria and Benin and things like that, isn't it? Yeah, the African Studies Library in Pennsylvania and things like that. You know, they stole a lot of our cultural artifacts and relics. Yeah, and sculptures. And yet we are afraid. That's why I say voodoo. We are afraid when we say it because colonialism has impacted you because you are afraid. Hey, the devil, you know, hey, what am I going to do? The devil, this is devilish, you know. Yeah, when one of my graduate students, just about 3 days ago from Glasgow, we were having Ph.D. discussion, and he is doing something on religion and LGBT. And he wants to see how various religions react culturally, historically. Then I said, you have to go to the shrine to talk, to practice, to stay with Anokonfu. He said, hey, sir, I'm a Christian. And then I said, yeah, you're a researcher. He said, then one of the other supervisors said, no. He may be impacted spiritually by. And I said, yes, but that's a methodology. If you are impacted spiritually, you will write about it. A lot of scholars have done that. People went to prison. Even here, Anas's principle. Anas went to prison to study. The Italian scholar Antonio Gramsci wrote a lot of his works while in prison. People have been to, even, is it Michel Foucault who went to, I think, I don't know, some of, is it Weber or one, people wrote the psychiatry, you know. Yes, we need to move, what I'm saying that you are coming up, we need to move beyond our comfort zone to write about ourselves. That's what I'm saying. Let's use our indigenous, you know, so the attire principle, the voodoo, you know, who is doing, the people doing economics, who is studying about voodoo economics, this idea about money doubling. It exists. What was it? Nana Agra before then was claiming to be doubling money, and all these snakes that have been vomiting money. Who is adding all these things to our GDP and per capita income? Nobody is adding that. So all these monies that are being vomited by snakes, if they are true, where are they coming from? I was watching, I don't know, I'm sure this day you watch it. There's this young Nigerian guy, I don't know whether Britain Got Talent or something, and he appears to be very, he has some power that he's able to bring a child, I don't know, some small boy, he's all over social media, TikTok, where he's able to, you know, I don't know whether it is artificial intelligence they are using now. Somebody will turn into a tiger, will turn into, it's AI, right? I suspect that one is AI. But, I mean, who is watching all this? Yeah, this is so critical. The voodoo mathematics, nobody is looking at how voodooism is contributing to the economy by money doubling. We are not, nobody is looking at that. It's all about economics, these are economics. And yet Ghana, you know, we keep, you know, having problems and things, all these big, how do you call it, econometrics and so-called big mathematicians. You know, we are now drawing on our indigenous, you know, principles and indigenous belief systems as part of our research work. So think, What are some of the training your grandmother, your grandfather, the trainings, the stories they have told you? They are, in itself, is a way to know who you are. The stories that you have been told, the folk tales. Some may be lies, fine, but, remember that people tell you, hey, when I was in class, I was the best. You can write about how those lies have been part of your training. How has those lies impacted you, motivated you, as a scholar, and then the last thing there, I'm saying that the way, the kind of work we do normally is supported by foreigners, Western scholars, okay? We also have to find money, to do our own research, okay? So, for example, in this university, let me give you a typical example. As young scholars, you have come. There's in Western societies, for example, like there will be tea, there will be coffee, there will be wine and some meat. Ask him. Yes, and so that encourages students to attend such programs. But if it will be dry, people are thinking, as people are sitting here, they are thinking about some rice they have left and how they are praying, their roommate has been trying that nonsense all finished. Or some American, maybe where you place it, there is some cat who is stubborn, who can be going hide and seek. So your mind, in other words, you have a divided attention. I'm saying that there should be, I don't know, here do you have scholarship? Maybe not yet. There should institute scholarship to support people who want to do research about us and so forth. Please, the last slide. Yes, I've spoken about this. Yeah, yes, so spoken about this. Yes, and so now the last thing, how do we share the research that we have done? How do we share it? How do we share it? Publication, okay? Some of you can become bloggers. These days we have African bloggers who write good things about Africa. They challenge things, one of the things, I think, Professor Makuta, you have raised that thing before. A lot of African Americans or black scholars who come to Africa, for example, they go to Castle or they come to the city, they complain about everything and they write such negativities on the internet. These things are not good. They write such negativities about African men and how, and so forth. So we must also have counter bloggers. Okay? It's very, very important. Who will challenge that? The fact that you have had experience with one or two doesn't mean that this is how the continent is or this is how Ghana is. You understand? Yes. People share very wild experiences. Okay? Wild experiences and so forth. So I'm saying that we should, for us academics, we should promote, specific journals at your level. I'm not so sure, but we should promote specific journals that will publish, work on African masculinity, and I'll propose specific Journal of African Masculinity and Journal of African Sexuality, so that we can write Africans writing for themselves. So I'm saying discourse on Africa by Africans for Africa and in Africa. We Africans should write about ourselves and so forth. And then, for example, so we should support Africans' work. In the universities, how do we promote African scholars? This nonsense idea about scopus and things like that, even when the work is not of good quality and the work is actually not engaging in any critical analysis. I'm saying that young people, young scholars as you are sitting here, you have a great future if you focus, see the positivities about us, correct stereotypes about what it means to be a man, support feminism, which is useful for equality in society, and if you continue in that trajectory or in that way, this society will be a beautiful place for all of us. If you don't know who you are, you cannot know where you are going. It's so important. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to bring my lecture to an end. If we can move to the next slide. Bring my lecture to an end. The next. Bring my lecture to an end and to thank you for having me. And it's a privilege to come here. If you have any question, I am more than willing to respond.
Very much, Dr. Fiaveh. If you can remain at the podium while during the Q&A.
Okay.
Let's give him another round of applause. Our students have really enjoyed the information you shared with us. So let's get into the Q&A. Who would like to be first to ask Dr. Fiaveh a question or make a comment? Anything along those lines? Any volunteers? Okay, I wrote some questions down, but I usually give students the first shot at questions. No one wants to take that opportunity? Okay, I'll let you think about them. I wrote a question very early on.
Okay.
And that question is, what do you think of the political pronouncements that are taking place in Africa as well as in the non-African world or the Western world, and particularly that there are only two genders? These political pronouncements. I think Donald Trump has been someone who's widely acknowledged for articulating such a vision, but even our own current head of state has made similar announcements. And in light of what we know about gender and sex, I'd like to hear, what do you think of those political pronouncements?
Okay. Should I proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So, in other words, the question, to bring it to your level, the question is asking whether what do I think about the idea that it's only male and female, or man and woman? Is there any alternative, particularly culturally? Do we have examples to show that in our cultures, the society recognizes and appreciates people who do not behave male and female? Yes, I'm saying that question, it is problematic for our leaders to think that there are only two genders. And I'll explain. I'll show you cultural example. Culturally, there's a lot of evidence. Remember, let me also explain the difference quickly. There's a difference between an identity and orientation. His question is more about identity. So what is identity? Identity is basically how you feel in your inner self. Like how you identify whether you are a male or you're a female. Okay? So you are born. Remember that how you feel has a bearing on how you are taught, you are socialized. Okay? I've just told you, I asked whether you have watched Tarzan and things like that. You know, if you give birth to a child, depending on how you teach the child the socialization, the child will be able. Today, there are a lot of children who are even behaving like robots. They are walking in the street and they are stuck to their phone. Cars are coming, because we are in a robotic age, right? Everybody is glued to their smartphone, right? People are no more thinking. I had students in my class, they can't write, they can only type, I'm telling you. So the question is important. So he is asking an identity question. How you feel, whether you feel more of a boy or you feel more of a girl. Whether that is the only form that we have had as Africans. And I'm saying that no. If you come to even our gods, I don't know, who is a Fanti here? Okay. Fantis have what they call posuban. Right? You know posuban? It's like small shrines. Like who knows Mankasim? Well, that's the first I can use to show you. Okay. Thank God we have smartphones. Just Google posuban. Now, culturally, some cultures and tribes have posuban. The posubans are like cultural shrines. Like, for example, among the Oyoko, among the do you know the clans in Akan? Oyoko, Britsu, Asona, and things like that. They have their, smaller gods. You understand? That is who we are. Oh. That is who we are. And the gods could be anything. It could be a totem. It could be, when I say a totem, it could be like, for example, the Fantis, the crab, koto, Koto is a totem. Ugwa or Koto, that's what they call it, Koto, right? You should know who you are, your tribe. Because people say that all these things has implications when you eat, for example, a totem, right? Because of some genetic disease. And so evidence shows that in our cultures, because that's why I use the word cultures, not culture, because our cultures are different. The Ebe culture is different from, let's say, even among the Ebe, there are diversities, okay, and so forth. In some of the the gods that we worship and things like that, they have no clear gender identity. So you will see some of the gods, they have 3 heads. You understand? They have 3 heads. There's no clear identity. We have all watched even this whole concept about Mami Wata. Or you haven't watched a movie, Mami Wata. Mami Wata is not a Western thing. We have always believed that there was a spirit water called Mami Wata. We have not heard Papa Wata, but we know Mami Wata. And we know that Mami Wata has parts of the body as human and another part as fish. Is that not what we and this thing is not only, it's a fairy tale, folk tale, right? So there's no clear identity. So this discussion about no clear identity has always been with us. Children who are born in cultures who don't behave like boy and girl, we have been laughing at them. We call them Kojo Besia, Kwenyi Obaberima. Nobody has been beating them. I'm telling you. Oh, we've been laughing. We've been teasing them. We've been mocking them. Haven't you experienced that before? Yes. So it has always been with us. Bema Kokoni, there are boys who like to be amongst girls. And there are, normally boys who want to be, the boys who want to be among girls, people don't really have, the problem that they have is that you are behaving like a girl. But normally when a girl wants to be amongst boys, people associate promiscuity to it. What say? You understand? But now that we know that girls are even playing football and things like that, it has become, no, isn't it? Yes, it has become the new normal. So it means that it was normal. It means it was normal and now it is new normal. But I will call it, we are now real, because it has always been with us. So it's not true that that it has always been one. In fact, people have spoken about the Ashantis, the Ashanti king, and even the Comforts when they are almost coma. That is when they are doing this thing. They take on different identities. Yes, they take on different identities. So it is not true. What is in contention, however, is the sexual orientation. So I've explained identity. That identity is how you feel, whether you feel more of male or female. Orientation is your attraction, sexual attraction, who you are sexually attracted to. Whether you are attracted to the same sex or opposite sex. You understand? That is another discussion altogether. You understand? But the problem is that nobody knew, because sex culturally is a bedroom matter. Sex is not a public discussion culturally. That's why people look at you with a lukewarm attitude if openly you are even husband and wife. If you are holding hand in public, people still have a set. It's not only in Ghana, everywhere. Just that maybe some society you may say people, but people still have a certain lukewarm attitude, even father and daughter. When the father and the daughter is walking, and the father puts their hand on the daughter's shoulder, even that, some people will say sugar daddy. Some people, you understand. Culturally, sex is a sensitive matter. We don't discuss sex in the public. So nobody knew or knows what sex takes place in the bedroom. But we know that humans innovate. Humans have been doing all manner of things in the bedroom. I'm telling you. You understand? So it's problematic. It's very problematic.
We have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions, and we have 1 question online.
One question.
But there's a hand here. So we'll take his, then yours.
Go ahead.
You were saying that
1 minute.
sex is a very good matter.
Yeah.
But then the result is something that
Sure.
Because I've come to believe and accept the fact that the purpose of sex is for reproduction.
Okay.
So a question of if you are saying that based on orientation, sexual orientation, is it possible that a man would mate a man in the womb, which is private, and the results of reproduction be successful? If yes, then there should be another gender. But if no, then I think that it remains so simple and obvious that there are only two genders, that is male and female.
Okay, let's take the second question and you can answer both of them. And I'll add the third question.
Maybe let me respond to that first. Yeah. I think your question is very relevant, but you are mixing the two. The first part is an important question which I have to respond to. But the linkage to identity is completely different. You see, your identity has absolutely nothing to do with your orientation. But it has a lot to do with your socialization. Like, if I am feeling like a boy, if my parents socialize me, forces me to be a boy, and also forces me to be attracted to a girl, then there is a linkage. But it is not a given that the fact that I'm feeling a boy means that I'm attracted to a girl. It is not a given. It is not direct. Do you get what so it is just like saying that the fact that I'm born by my parents, it means that if I see my mother's breast, I cannot be attracted. Your innate feeling will, but your socialization will restrict you. So I'm saying that the socialization is the key thing, how you are brought up. If you see your mother's breast holding on as a young man, people have talked super ego, and it, right? It's Sigmund Freud. You will learn that your innermost self, there will be that, but the cultural upbringing will the barrier. You understand? That is what will bring. So you will see a child, a young girl, hey, small girl, and then to say, right? Something will tell you, hey, yeah, pedophilia. Something will tell you, hey, jail, 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 because it's a child. Jail is a child. Jail is a child. That will restrict you. If it doesn't restrict you, if you go to court, you can never give that as a reason that it was the devil. You understand? Because if there is devil, there is God because of the socialization. If there is devil, there is God. The God is supposed to intervene in the devil. But the first question about bedroom, right? The first question about, because sex is in, the result of sex is in the public, right? And sex is a private affair, and sex for you is about reproduction. The fact that a reproduction has taken place, it means that the form of sex that took place was male-female. It's problematic a bit because people don't always have sex to reproduce, right? Ask yourself, how many times, it's not a given that the number of times of sex you give means you will be pregnant. Because science has shown that as for pregnancy, one sperm is what will fertilize the ovary, the ovary, right? So you can have 100 sex and not be pregnant. So, and because sex is supposed to be enjoyable, that's the thing. That's why it's called erotic sex. So when people have sex, even though some may have the ultimate goal of reproduction, the intended consequences also is about pleasure. Yeah, it's about pleasure. People, so we cannot assume that when people have sex, it's always because they want to give birth. People also have sex because else then we'll calculate if someone marries for 10 years and then the number of sex they have had should culminate into the number of children they have. No, but people have sex also for pleasure. And so in the pleasure process, people can do anything. Remember that the emphasis here is about anal sex or vaginal sex. So people can do anything for pleasure. Just as people can have buccal sex. Male sex is, if you are going by reproduction, to give me I mentioned fellatio and cunnilingus. Maybe you didn't understand. Cunnilingus is when a man plays on a woman's vagina, and the opposite is fellatio. But people do it, blow job. People have been doing more fire, exactly. People have been doing it, but we don't know. They don't tell us. People have been sucking breasts. Is that all part of reproduction? People suck breasts. People suck nipples. Yeah, people do all these things. So as for bedroom matters, we don't know the form that sex takes place, but we do know that people give birth. But especially in an era where reproduction, people can get pregnant through in vitro and several technologies and things like that. Actually, traditionally, there are technologies people used to even give birth, including position. Among in Uganda and certain tribes in Zimbabwe, Zambia, and things, they have a sexual practice called kunyanza. Maybe you should read a bit. So traditionally, we have always had traditional techniques to either prevent pregnancy, these condom things, and we have always had traditional ways of pregnancy prevention, how to tighten the vagina, how to make the penis longer, how to create a good sperm. Don't be making those comments, distract, and so forth. Yeah, thank you. So
my question is, how is feminism beneficial to a man whose feminist wife always wants him to cater for the family?
yes. Okay. That's an important question. How? Let me write it. Okay. So you said, how is feminism beneficial, right, to men whose wife always wants the man to cater for the family? Yeah, that man should play back feminism to the wife. If the wife, what feminism is asking for is for equality. Equality between men and women and even other genders. So if the wife believes that she wants her rights, then she must contribute. But it also has implications for the man, because then whatever power you have over the woman would also have implications. Do you understand? Yes. So actually, a woman who is seeking for her rights and believes in feminism will not actually be so demanding that you should cater for all the responsibilities, because she knows the implications of that. So feminism should be beneficial, because then feminism will then say that feminism also fights for men. They will tell you that this kind of life is hegemonic. In other words, it's too dominant, it's too restrictive on men. Because even if you can't do it, you are forced. That is why men die. Statistics show that men tend to die early, because they take on very hazardous jobs that even when your strength cannot afford. You understand? So you have to preach feminism to your wife. That man, you must preach. In other words, you must give your wife the right to work. Yes. And work here must not be defined as a white collar job. Work can be, and let me give you a good tip, work can be your wife being a housewife if she chooses to be. It means that if your wife chooses to be a housewife, you either have to be paying her. Yes. Because if you go and pick a nanny, you will be paying the nanny. And so you have to come to that realization. Do you get what I'm saying? Yes, because if you die, she must also leave. It's very important. Or she can go into farming if she chooses. Whatever work she chooses to do, you give her that right. And it will be beneficial to the man. Because then she brings home some income, you bring home an income. You don't have to be a Superman. Yes, because Superman, look at it. They have been lying to about Superman. I'm sure he gets hurt all the time.
Okay, I think our last question, this one is from online.
Okay.
One of our participants by the name of Sir Lord.
Sarah what?
Sir Lord Nimaosi.
Okay.
How do traditional African cultural beliefs and practices shape the perception of masculinity in relation to sexuality? Again, the question online is, how do traditional African cultural beliefs and practices shape the perception of masculinity in relation to sexuality?
Yes. So how do traditional African cultural beliefs and practices shape the perception of masculinity? Yes. So that's why I'm saying that most of these writings have been based on Western people who do not understand. It's all about the interpretation. It's all about how you see, when, for example, let me give you a typical example to fit this. I gave you the example, let's say a man who is married to 2 women. I told you that culturally, the practice of marrying more than one woman was not necessarily about the ego of a man, but also about the support of women. And so the practice of polygamy, for want of a better word, okay, the practice of polygamy, before you, culturally, you can marry additional wife, that's why the masculinity comes in. Before you can marry an additional wife or take on a woman, you must be financially sound. That is the masculinity. And so you hear, sometimes your parents tell you, so often say, when you are bema frimifie. If you're, yeah, they will tell you, right? If you think that, now you are challenging me, I say you should sleep, they will tell, if you're a girl. And it goes to femininity as well. So you're a young woman, you want to go partying. Your father or your mother says, Madam, I beg, when it's 7 o'clock, I'm locking my this thing. My gate. Then say, menu. Uyoba. So uyoba. Exactly. So that's the femininity. Uyoba. And you have plates. Neto chest. Neko reti udai. And things like that. The same applies to men. So for a man, the sexuality, for a man to be able to marry 2, you know, that's why I gave an expression here, and I'll translate. The fact, you know, it's not about the, you think you are macho, you understand? Because you, in fact, you hear men even talking about, you must be matured you must be ready to even want to take on 2 wives, 3 wives and things. Because, in other words, you are going to be an adjudicator. As a man, you are going to be the adjudicator. This person is coca, children from here, coca. You sit them down. So what is going on in my household? You know, and things like. So a certain form of masculinity comes with a certain form of maturity. So traditionally, masculinity and sexuality intersects with issues about age, financial, not necessarily education, but wisdom. So not education. It has nothing to do with education, but it has a lot to do with age. Even though you may say that age has no relation with wisdom, it has a little bit link. Because you see, the more you age, the more you stop doing the things you were doing that didn't help you. So you became wiser. Haven't you heard songs? Now I become wiser. Which of the songs? One of those. I was. I know those. You understand? That is it. King promise. Yeah, exactly. So it comes with wisdom, experience, age. As you age, anyone who is here, if you keep doing the same things you were doing when you were a child, then you are not wise. Yes, you cannot be wise. Because life experiences teaches you, you know, and that's what culturally is important. So you can be rich, but it may have nothing to do with wisdom. That's how come, for example, when you go to family gatherings, you can be the most educated person, but when it comes to the family meeting, you will be shocked that the kind of wisdom that discussion, yeah, sometimes they shut you down, right? I know that, yes, culturally, age may be problematic, but sometimes age comes with experience. That's why they say in Proverbs, they say, Adia opinion or tifo or whatever, abofra, Nigerians also have it, about the Iroko tree or whatever. Yes, I think things fall apart. Chinua Achebe talks a lot about that. Okay, and that's why I said we should read African literature. Okay, try and read at least by the time you complete school. You should have read one African literature. One African literature. Many thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
In fact, that's a great presentation. Let us give it to him. And again, we thank you all for coming here. In fact, without your presence, this program or this series wouldn't have held. We are highly enthused. And then to our speaker, we appreciate your presentation once again and hoping to see you again when we call you. Thank you. And then to our community, those who are not here physically, but spiritually you are with us, we appreciate you. We appreciate you for your care, your time. Yes, we are looking forward to do more.